Listen, he really looked at you like that yesterday, Taylor, said Bethany, stirring her tea and glancing at her friend. When I was passing by your department, I noticed right away. Taylor grimaced and absent-mindedly adjusted her blouse. Their lunch with Bethany had long turned into a daily ritual, sitting in this cafe opposite the office, discussing colleagues and sharing gossip. A typical spot for office workers, plastic tables, the perpetual smell of instant coffee and microwave-heated burgers. Oh, come on! Taylor tried to speak casually, but the blush on her cheeks betrayed her excitement. So what? The department head looked at an employee. Yeah, right, Bethany scoffed, picking up the last of the foam in her cappuccino. People only look at special employees like that, and only after 3 months of secret meetings. Taylor looked around nervously. The cafe was not crowded. A couple of students with laptops in the corner. They're always hanging around with their shared Americano, some man with a crumpled newspaper by the window, a waitress melancholically wiping down tables. Quiet down. Taylor kicked her friend under the table. We don't need rumors spreading around the office. What are you afraid of? Bethany shrugged her shoulders. That his wife will find out? Taylor grimaced as if she had bitten a lemon. Oh, let's not go there. I didn't even know he was married when it all started, and he never mentioned it. You don't know how it happened? Bethany pushed the empty cup aside. No. Tell me. The New Year's corporate party, Taylor began. Everyone was drunk, the music was blaring. I was sitting at the bar, just returned from vacation, tanned in a new dress. Remember, the red one? It was expensive, but worth it. Then Stephen comes over. Oh, already Stephen, Bethany mimicked. Just a month ago, he was Stephen Michael. Oh, stop it, Taylor waved off genially. Anyway, he approached, all Mr. Important. How's work going? Do you like the company? The team? And I'm sitting there, legs for days, new lipstick. The phone on the table vibrated. Stephen's name flashed on the screen. Hello? Yes. Okay, I'll be there in half an hour, said Taylor, then hurriedly returned to Bethany. I need to run. Stephen's urgently calling. Oh, how official. Stephen's calling. Bethany rolled her eyes. What's happened? I don't know, Taylor said, throwing on a jacket. She glanced at the wall mirror. Makeup was intact. Hair was in place. His voice sounded strange. Said it's a serious conversation. Maybe he'll propose? Bethany winked. Yeah, right, Taylor threw back. I'll call you later. Stephen was sitting in the same cafe, but at a distant table. The clock chimed 2. Perfect time for lunch. But he wasn't hungry. There was an untouched cup of black coffee in front of him. His third that day. His temples throbbed from lack of sleep and stress. Yesterday's conversation with his wife echoed in his mind. He had purposely stayed late at work until 9 in the evening. He was, frankly, scared. When he returned home, Emily was sitting in her favorite chair, worn out. It needed replacing ages ago. She was leafing through a science magazine, and on the coffee table, her favorite cat-printed mug of tea had gone cold. Yet another soundless TV series played on the screen. We need to talk, he said from the doorway, without bothering to remove his coat. Emily looked up from her magazine. A shadow of understanding crossed her face. She always was smart. I met someone else, he breathed out. The room became so quiet you could hear the refrigerator hum in the kitchen and the upstairs neighbor moving furniture as always. 10 years of that. How long? Emily asked calmly, though her fingers gripped the magazine until her knuckles turned white.
6 months now,
Stephen replied.
I see.
She got up and went to the window, standing there hugging herself as if she were cold.
And now? I want a divorce,
he said. Emily continued to look out the window. When are you leaving? She asked.
Next week,
but the apartment stays with you. I'm not claiming it. She finally turned around.
I see.
And what does your new woman think about that? We haven't talked about it yet. She gave a bitter smile.
Well, good luck with that conversation.
The sound of heels on the tiles pulled Stephen from his memories. Taylor stood beside his table in a form-fitting skirt, stilettos, styled as if straight from a magazine cover. Only now did he notice her bright makeup. Emily hardly wore any.
Hey!
Taylor lowered herself into the chair across, crossing her legs. What's up? You sounded so serious on the phone. I talked with Emily yesterday, he said. Taylor paused, clutching her purse.
About what?
She asked cautiously.
About us.
I told her I want a divorce. A satisfied smile spread across her face. And how did she take it? Was she okay with it?
I said, I'm leaving her the apartment.
The smile vanished as quickly as it appeared.
What do you mean leaving the apartment?
Her voice turned sharp.
So, the apartment goes to Emily, and where do we live?
I rented a 1-bedroom in a new building, he said.
What do you mean rented?
Taylor straightened abruptly, causing the cup on the table to clink.
Are you out of your mind? You're trading a big downtown apartment for a rented 1-bedroom? Listen. No, you listen.
Her eyes flashed with cold anger. She leaned over the table, and he caught the sharp, bright scent of her perfume, so unlike Emily's gentle floral scent.
I am not cramming into a 1-bedroom while your ex lives in a big apartment overlooking the park. Either we sell the apartment and split the money, or what? He asked quietly. Or you can forget about me, she hissed. And by the way...
She grabbed her Michael Kors bag, a birthday gift, cost him 3 paychecks, and added, think about how the management will like the story about an affair with a subordinate. She stood and headed to the exit. By the door, she turned around. I'm giving you a day to think. Don't disappoint me. Stephen watched her leave, feeling everything inside freeze. He saw Emily's face again from last night when she said, Take your things right away. I don't want you coming back for them later. He pulled out his phone and opened the photo gallery. There was their last vacation. Emily in front of the ocean in a simple sundress, laughing heartily without any makeup. And there was a picture of Taylor from the last corporate event. Bright, striking, everything thought out to the last detail. 2 different worlds, and he managed to throw away the one that truly mattered. That evening, he stood at the door of what was now her apartment. 3 times he raised his hand to ring and lowered it. On the 4th, he finally mustered the courage and pressed the bell. Emily didn't open immediately. She stood at the door in an old house shirt. His shirt, to be precise. Her hair was hastily tied in a messy bun.
Did you forget something? She asked coldly. Can I come in? We need to talk, he requested. About what?
But she let him in anyway. The hallway remained unchanged. It smelled of apple strudel, Emily's favorite candles. Their wedding album still stood on the shelf, and his old jacket hung on the coat rack. 12 years of life in every detail. Stephen walked into the living room. Nothing had changed. The sagging couch, lamp with a faded shade, Photos on the walls. Italy, Greece, Florida. They saved up for every trip. Only his laptop was no longer on the table. He began, then fell silent. How do you explain being a complete idiot, that he fell for a pretty picture and only today realized what a fool he'd been? Understood, Emily said, sitting on the armrest of the chair and crossing her arms. Not a word, yet it's all clear. Why didn't you tell me that everyone knew? He asked. Why bother? She shrugged. You wouldn't believe it anyway. You needed to find out for yourself. I can make this right, he finally uttered. No, you can't. She shook her head. Do you know your problem? You always think you can go back if something doesn't work, but that's not how it is. Stephen, go home. She stood up and moved to the door. Stephen, go home, she calmly repeated, stopping at the door. To your new life. I have my first lecture at the university tomorrow. I need to prepare. He lingered for a moment, looking at her straight back. Finally, he pulled out his key ring and silently left it on the hall stand. Apartment, building, mailbox keys. So many years encapsulated in a small metal ring. Emily didn't even turn around. 3 months had passed. Emily was sitting in a cozy cafe not far from the university in Seattle. She graded student papers while a warm summer rain gently drizzled outside. Pigeons shuffled on the windowsill, occasionally peering indoors. Excuse me, may I sit with you? Someone asked. She looked up. Standing beside her was the new department head, Daniel Price. An intellectual man in his 50s, wearing his usual tweed jacket with worn elbows. Yes, of course. Emily smiled, moving her papers aside. It's a bit of a mess. Creative mess. How's your monograph coming along? He asked, sitting down across from her. Slowly, she glanced at her now cold tea. You know, there are perks to being divorced. Now I spend my evenings just writing. I used to have to cook, clean, do the laundry. You're a very strong person, Daniel said, pulling some documents from his battered briefcase. Though they gossip in the department. What do they say? She chuckled. Well, that your husband left for a younger woman, that the apartment wasn't shared, that you're now a bitter divorcee. Emily laughed. Oh, not at all, she replied. Life throws different situations. The key is not to lose yourself. At a nearby table, a young couple was passionately discussing something. The girl was showing something on her phone screen. Look, see, these wallpapers for the bedroom. Very romantic, right? They're too pink. Let's go for gray ones instead. The guy frowned. Emily couldn't help but listen and remembered when she and Stephen used to choose wallpapers. That renovation nearly tore apart their relationship. He wanted minimalism, she wanted coziness. They ended up with a compromise, and back then, both liked it. Those were the days, she thought with a bittersweet smile. What's on your mind? Daniel asked, breaking through her reverie. Just watching this couple. Emily nodded towards the nearby table, thinking, they're picking out wallpaper, arguing. And yet everything can collapse in an instant. A leggy secretary could come along, bat her eyes, and it's over. You've become a cynic, he remarked. Not a cynic, she smiled. Just now I know. You shouldn't build your entire life around one person, because that person might just walk away one day. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, in his new office, Stephen was sorting through papers. His resignation lay on the desk. The management offered him a promotion, but he decided to leave anyway. After Taylor started her fling with the branch director, staying in the company seemed pointless. Now Taylor strutted around the office in her high heels, clicking and flaunting her new bag, a gift from her beloved man. Rumor had it he bought her a car and was looking for an apartment. Stephen's phone chimed, a message from a real estate agent. "Found a great option near the metro. When can you view?" "Today, after work." Stephen quickly replied. Life seems to be getting back on track, he thought. Not the way he dreamed 6 months ago, but perhaps that's for the best. Now he truly understood. There's no point chasing after a pretty picture. What matters is staying human. The phone on his desk rang. It was Emily. "Hi, your documents were found. Military ID, diploma. Want to pick them up?" "Yes, of course. When's a good time?" "No need. I'll deliver them myself. Shall I leave them at reception or accounting?" "Accounting," he replied after a short pause. "And thank you for everything." She didn't answer immediately. Then she said a short bye and hung up. At the university, Emily was explaining a new scientific theory to her students, drawing formulas on the board. A thought crossed her mind. She should visit her parents this weekend. Her mom had been inviting her. Also, it was time to start remodeling the kitchen. The wallpaper had faded and some tiles were cracked. Life was moving along, not as she had once dreamed, but it was her own, and that held a special kind of meaning.